Recording in progress.
Of Federated City Employees Retirement System and Healthcare Trust. Vice Chair Jennings, are you here?
Here.
Trustee Abbott?
Here.
Trustee Avasti is absent. Trustee Chandra? Here. Trustee Faulkner?
Here.
And Trustee Linder? Here. And we have quorum. Thank you.
May I qualify the two that are?
Yes, please.
Okay, so let me start with Trustee Jennings. Trustee Jennings, can you please provide the address from where you're teleconferencing from?
Sure. 855 East Hilton Drive, Boulder Creek, California. 95.
Go ahead, sorry.
95006, if you want that.
And location from where you're teleconferencing from, ADA accessible and open to the public?
Yes.
And if a member wants to be heard at your location by the board, can they be heard?
Yes.
And have you posted the agenda at your location where it can be publicly seen?
Yes.
Okay, so she's qualified under the traditional Brown Act teleconferencing rules. Mr. Faulkner or Trustee Faulkner, are you teleconferencing from the address of 1000 Avenida de Conquistador Las Casitas?
As we say it.
Fajardo, Puerto Rico?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and it's a location from where you're teleconferencing from, ADA accessible and open to the public?
Yes.
And if a member wants to be heard from your location, can they be heard by the board?
Yes.
And have you posted the agenda at your location where it can be publicly seen?
Yes, I have.
Okay, thank you. He's also qualified under the traditional Brown Act teleconferencing rules. All votes must be roll call votes.
Okay, thank you, Council Chin. And as you mentioned, all votes will be roll call votes, as this is a hybrid meeting. Under orders of the day, I have a note that the Joint Governance Committee meeting is scheduled now for Monday, November 27th at 10 a.m. And with that, I will take a motion to accept the orders of the day.
So moved.
We have a motion from Trustee Linder.
Second.
Second from Trustee Abbott. Any discussion? We'll have a roll call vote. Vice Chair Jennings.
Aye.
Trustee Abbott.
Aye.
Trustee Chandra.
Aye.
Trustee Faulkner.
Aye.
Trustee Linder.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. We do have to waive sunshine on a couple of items. One is consent calendar item 1.6E, a contract entered into by the CEO for risk strategy company client agreements. New business item 5I, discussion actions on the standing committee assignments. And joint personnel committee item 6.5D, discussion and action on recommended changes to the JPC charter. Do I have a motion to waive sunshine on all three items?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Linder, second.
Second.
Second from Trustee Chandra. Any discussion? We will vote. Vice Chair Jennings.
Aye.
Trustee Abbott.
Aye.
Trustee Chandra.
Aye.
Trustee Faulkner.
Aye.
And Trustee Linder.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Sunshine is waived. At this time, I will take public comment on any item that the public wishes to comment on that is a subject for this board that is not otherwise agendized. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. Is there anyone here wishing to speak or anybody online wishing to speak? Okay, if not, then we will move to the next agenda item, which is closed session. And what do we have closed session in the side room here? Yes. So you'll be able to transfer our Zoom participants. Okay.
Recording stopped.
Session.
Recording in progress.
Do we need a vote, a motion to vote on the consent calendar?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a question about, something on the consent calendar.
Okay, well, we can pull something from the consent calendar if that's,
Yeah, I had a couple of questions about the budget,
okay.
which is item 1.6B.
Right. Go ahead.
Okay, so my question about the budget, two things, is there were several expenses that were flagged as having been not as under, they hadn't received the invoices, so we had favorable variances because of that. And my question is whether it's standard practice to not accrue expenses, because in my experience, we would accrue the expenses if we knew that there were invoices outstanding
You only
at
accrue,
the end of every quarter. So I'm just curious what the city policy is.
I can address that, as a trustee, if you don't mind, I mean, otherwise, is that okay?
Yeah, please go ahead, Vice Chair Jennings.
The city does not accrue expenses until the end of the year. So the end of the year is June. And
Okay.
what they call it is period 13, and that's when accruals are done. However, if there is a contract, a lot of times what will happen is it will be encumbered. That means that you book the whole expenses to the balance sheet in essence. Well, you debit the code that's going to go, and then you credit the accounts payable, and then as invoices come through, you release that. So that is normally what happens with agreements, and that is how the city processes these. We don't do it quarterly.
And I had one other question on the budget. I saw that the LRS annual maintenance fee was $40,000 over the budget. And I'm wondering if this, I don't even know what the LRS annual maintenance fee is. So I'm wondering what it is and if we expect it to have an impact on our budget for the full year.
I will hand that off to Roberto.
I'll hand it over to Barbara.
Okay.
What, hot potato then? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, those, for Levi Ray is the, LRS, and not the pension administration system. And, I think to look at the report, you're saying it's $40,000.
Yeah, for the quarter. I think that's what it said.
Maybe. Benji, yeah.
Benji is our accounting manager. I wonder if we just actually pay the maintenance for the full year.
That is
And
correct.
that's why it says the total amount and that's what it shows in there, but it's actually through the 12 months. Benji, can you respond to that?
That is correct. That is the annual maintenance fee. So it is within budget, but we do get the invoice in advance. So we get it one time per year. And on a quarterly basis, it does show that it's over, but on an annual basis, it will be within budget.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Yes.
All right. Any other items from the consent calendar? And if not, Do we have a motion to accept the consent calendar?
So moved.
We have a motion from trustee Chandra. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from trustee Abbott. Any public discussion, any public comments? We will vote. Vice Chair Jennings,
Aye.
Trustee Abbott,
Aye.
trustee Chandra. Aye. Trustee Faulkner,
Aye.
trustee Linder. Aye. And I vote aye as well. Move to agenda item 2.0, death and survivorship. Please join me in a moment of silence for those who serve the city and who have passed. Thank you. Number 3, investments. Mr. Kalani, please share some wisdom with us.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We actually have no agenda items for a change this month.
Okay, I'm sure it'll make up for it next month.
Yes, I'm sure it will. But if you're interested, as of 2 days ago, the pension plan was up 16 basis points fiscal year to date. It was positive.
We take our wins where we find them. 6 basis points.
Positive thanks to what happened on Tuesday. Yeah, otherwise it would have been negative. So we are still, of course, even a zero return means we are 6 5/8 behind our discount rate. So the markets and the Fed and fiscal policy has 6 months time to make sure that the market rallies about 10% so that we can meet our discount rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have every confidence that they will help us out. All right, any questions?
It's a bold statement.
Any questions from trustees? Any public comments? Not, I see we have no old business, so we'll move to new business, item 5. And just as a note, we will take a break at about 10 o'clock. But now we are on to item 5A, or update from our CEO, Mr. Pena.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a couple of things. We are in the month of November, which means is the month of open enrollment for healthcare for retirees. All the open enrollment packets were mailed early in the month, and we actually had a very well attended and what I might describe as a successful retiree in-person health fair last November 8th at the Lincoln Center. We have quite a few retirees, and a lot of different vendors. Retirees had a chance to not only talk to the different vendors from different areas that included the Anthem and Kaiser, but also our office. And they still have the ability to have virtual online webinars and one-on-one consultations with our vendors throughout the month before they make a decision. Today, our office has received 330 change forms, although the bulk of that, I did more than 50%, are just forms to make sure that they continue the health in lieu of healthcare. I also wanted to let you know that last October 24th, the city auditor presented their interim audit report on the alignment of control between the city and the Office of Retirement Services. It was a good discussion, and the council actually requested that we go back within 45 days to provide them with an update on the progress of our work related to that finding.
Right.
And we are working diligently, not only with Cortex, but also with council to make sure that we can hopefully either be back to report at their December 5th meeting or December 12th. They said 45 days, December 5th is 42, December 12th is a little more than that. So we're hoping that we can go the 12th to allow us a little more flexibility, but we'll keep you posted.
Okay.
The Retirement Connection newsletter, the fall edition, was distributed early this month. And a couple of more things. The office will be closed during the Thanksgiving holiday on Thursday, November 23rd and Friday, November 24th. And the updated limit amounts, annual amounts were issued by the IRS and in reference to the 415 bill limit, which is the one that limits how much we can pay on the retirement benefits. And it impacts a handful or a number of our retirees. That limit went up to $275,000 a year for 2024.
Okay,
That concludes my update, Mr. Chair. Happy to answer any questions.
thank you. Any questions from trustees? Trustee Linda?
Just have one thing, I was at a regular retirees board meeting and I was told that this was the best event yet that you guys ran out of the manager for, the health benefits and all the stuff. So congratulations on that. Thanks, Stan.
That's very good to hear, and I do want to appreciate the comment. I do want to publicly thank the staff from the office that put together this in person. It is a lot of work. A lot of work on getting everyone there and putting everything together, getting all the vendors and getting things set up. So again, kudos to staff for an excellent job and for making sure they enjoy working with the retirees. So thank you for the comments, and we continue working obviously on an annual basis on this issue. Thank you.
Right. Any other questions from trustees? Any questions or comments from the public? Anybody online raising their hands? No? All right, thank you. Our next agenda item is an oral update from the city council liaison. I believe you said Ms. Davis is not here. Is there a representative from Ms. Davis's office online?
No.
No? Okay, we'll move to 5C, which is discussion preliminary pension valuation results presented by Chiron. So.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Yeah.
So I don't know if you can see me, but this is Bill Hallmark. And I apologize for not being there in person today, but I'm recovering from a cold, and rather than spread my germs, I thought it would be better to participate via Zoom. So,
We
and
appreciate that.
And we do have several Chiron representatives in the room. For this presentation, joining me is Stephen Hastings and Jackie King. And I think Jackie's bringing up the presentation. Can you put it in? Yeah. So go ahead and move to the schedule on slide 2. So this meeting, we are presenting the preliminary pension valuation results and the demographic experience study. I know you just called item 5C. I think we would like to present 5C and 5D together, if that is acceptable to the chair.
Yeah, no objection.
Okay, and then we will also do the OPEB assumptions review. So this meeting is heavy on assumptions. It finishes off the assumptions section, and then we'll come back in December with the final pension results, preliminary OPEB results, and then January we do the final OPEB results. So with that, I will turn it to Jackie to get us started on the preliminary results.
Can we use one of the microphones?
Yeah, that's okay.
Absolutely. I think it's the closest one.
Yeah.
Well, that's wired, so. That's wrong.
Great. Yeah.
Let us know if we need to speak up and if anyone can't hear us online.
If we can hear you, anybody online want to comment?
Yeah, we're good.
Good.
Okay, good morning, everyone. As Bill mentioned, we're gonna go through the preliminary evaluation results first. So we just want to reiterate that they are preliminary, they still within the final review process in Chiron. So they may differ from what you see at the next couple of meetings, but we just wanted to give you a sense of what the valuation results are gonna look like. These preliminary results are before any assumption changes, so they would be as if there were no assumption changes made. So the first set is just a brief summary of what the results would look like. The graph on the left shows you your funding ratio. So it's your actuarial value of assets over your actuarial liabilities. And you can see it remained very constant and increased slightly from 57% to 58.5%, which is actually really close to what we were projecting from last year, which was 58.7%. Just remember that those on the graph on the left shows the numbers in total, and the table on the right breaks it down by tier. And just to show you that tier one is still the much bigger portion of the plan, and that's the underfunded part. But the tier two is very well funded, with an actual value of assets funding ratio of almost 94%.
Okay, so on slide 6, we're showing on a preliminary basis, the contribution rates and the contribution amounts. And they show both the prior fiscal year end 2024 and 2025. On the left side, we're showing the contribution rates, and those are in total going down from 54.6 to 50.6. And you can see the components in purple is the normal cost, the city, both paid by the city and members in the lighter purple. And in the gold, there's the interest on the unfunded actuarial liability, and in the lighter gold is the principal paid on the unfunded. And so you can see that the principal amount is actually going up from 8.7 to 9.9%. But the total city rate is going down. However, on the right, we see the contribution amounts, the totals are going up from 216.1 to 127.3. And the story there is that the payroll has come in significantly higher than what's expected, right? So that the total amount as a percentage of payroll drops, but the dollar amount increases. So that's what's going on there. Last year we projected 53.9% for fiscal year end 2025, and so 50.6 is below that. And in addition, the 219.6 was projected last year on dollar amount. That increase. So again, the story there is the payroll has come in higher than expected. So moving on to slide 7, we're showing the history of the various buckets for participants. So we have the for members. So we have the green is the in pay, gold the deferred. So folks that have less active service but are due a benefit at some point in the future. And then there are there's blue for active participants, and that starting in 2013 splits into tier 1 versus tier 2. And one thing I would note is for the current year, we're looking at over 4,000 active participants for the first time since 2009, right? So for the first time since the Great Recession really impacted things. Now the support ratio, which is the number of inactives per active, that has obviously gone up over the years because as people retire, the inactive population has grown. But we would like to note that the total amount for actives is more than 4,000 for the first time in many years. And you can see that more than 2/3 even of the active population is now tier 2.
So this slide is really kind of our transition to the demographic experience study. We're looking at the historical gains and losses on the liability side and what the sources are. And you can see there are a couple key things out of this. One, since the last experience study in 2019, we've had consistent liability losses. Most of that has been driven by salary increases greater than expected. But there's also been consistent losses for retirement rates and termination rates. And termination rates also include our refund and reciprocity assumptions. So when we do the demographic experience study, you can expect some changes in those areas. But I would also note that although we've had consistent losses and we don't like to see consistent losses, those losses are very small compared to the overall liability of about $5 billion. So we're looking at something less than 1% a year. So our changes are probably not going to be huge, but we are looking at some changes in those areas.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So when you're talking about terminations, you're talking about, when you say reciprocity, this is someone who leaves the city, who keeps their money in the system, goes to another municipality where we have a reciprocal relationship, right?
Correct.
Is it calculating at the point that they leave and an estimation of when they would retire and what that increased liability would be? I assume that because retirement is a separate item.
Right. So what, and we will get into this in the demographic experience study, but the reciprocity assumption is exactly what you described. It's how, when someone terminates employment with the city, how many of them go to a reciprocal employer. And that's important because we base the final benefit based on their final salary at the reciprocal employer. And so we have to build in an increased salary assumption for the people who do that.
And also, one thing is that when we do that, because we have the 5% non-pensionable, when someone leaves to another municipality and then they get paid out, they're getting paid out. They know that 5% non-pensionable is no longer part of the equation. So you have to catch up to that amount, right? If they had retired from the city, that obligation would be lower because of that 5% non-pension.
Yeah. So if their salary at their new employer is the same as at San Jose,
yeah,
but all of it is pensionable,
mm-hmm.
then yes, exactly. We have to catch up for that 5%. But they also may have taken a higher level position,
yeah.
So we have to catch up for the promotions that they get.
So you are calculating, I guess my long story short here is part of that assumption is that catch up of that 5% plus assuming someone's going to leave the city for a higher paying job, right? Why do it?
Right. So we have not only an assumption of how many take it, but then what the average salary increase is between the time they leave San Jose and the time they retire.
Okay. And now that we have the 6% increase, hopefully it's not as much as a jump between the two municipalities, because some of that has now been made up, because it used to be like 10% that people could get more. Hopefully now it's maybe 4%. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not the immediate increase that we have to.
I know it's over the years.
It's all the way out to whenever they retire.
Absolutely. Now they're going to get paid that. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, let's move to the summary here. So you can see we are tweaking a lot of different assumptions here. I'm not going to go through them on this slide, but we are tweaking a lot. I want to say in the end, the increase in the actuarial liability is only about $23 million out of our $5 billion. So we are tweaking a lot. It does have an impact on the normal cost and the cost for the active members. But overall, it's not a dramatic change. But they're just small tweaks on each individual thing. So we are going to run through these and try and hit the highlights Stop us if you have questions on an individual assumption. But we're hoping to just kind of move through them quickly, give you the highlights, and then get to the final impact. So with that, turn it to Stephen.
Yeah, so on slide 11, we're looking at merit salary scale. So these are salary increases in addition to wage inflation, right? So we have a separate wage inflation assumption we've already discussed with the economic assumptions. So here we're talking about promotions, and you know, things other than the across the board increases, right? Steps and promotions. And the experience, as we see on the left, we're looking at the relationship between years of service and the merit increase. So we look at for individual, the different years of service, we're looking at the increases after we back out, right? The across the board increase. And you'll see there's a relationship between time or the years of service and sort of that downward slope, right? So early in a career, there are higher levels of merit increase, promotions, et cetera, and then that sort of tapers off. And in the dark blue, we're showing the current assumption, and in the green is the proposed assumption, which is moving that up closer to what the actual experience is. So that the sort of choppier line is the actual experience. So there's a clear trend there, and clearly we want to move closer to what we're seeing as the actual experience. And we don't want to move all the way there because we believe some of the recent experience is sort of one-time adjustments. But that's the gist of what's going on with the salaries.
So for the majority of the other demographic assumptions, retirement termination, all of that, we have a few different metrics that we look at to set the new assumptions to compare what currently is we look at and what we want to change it to. So the first is the confidence interval. So in a nutshell, the more data you have, the more credible it is, and the smaller your confidence interval is going to be. So the smaller the confidence interval, the better it is, right? It just means you've got more data. So for instance, if you have one retiree, one person that actually retires, so you have 10 exposures, that means 10 people were eligible to retire, but only one person actually retired. Your actual observed rate is 10% of the people are retiring. But in actuality, because you don't have a huge set of exposures, the true rate really falls between 0 and 30%. Versus if you had 1,000 exposures, that true rate is much smaller, really between 8 to 12%. So that's what we're really looking for. So when we say in the proposed assumptions, we are trying to get within the confidence interval for each bucket that we're looking at the data. For this experience study, we looked at 10 years worth of data, even though it's been 4 years since the last experience study. 10 years gives us a much bigger data set to look at. And we did take into some critical consideration, that the pandemic fell within there. So there were a couple of assumptions that we excluded certain years. You could tell they were real outliers. And then the last two metrics that we look at is we look at the actual expected ratio. This is how many people actually, the experience was actually shown versus the assumption, the expected. And ideally, you want to get close to 100%. So if you're not close with, you generally want to move be closer to it. And the next is your R-squared statistic. And this is really your pattern of the assumption. So it's not looking at a specific number, but rather what's happening throughout. And again, you want to try and get to 100% for that. So you don't always have to get to it exactly, but you want to move towards it if you're deviating from it. So we'll get into a couple of the extra ones now.
Yeah, so on slide 14, we're looking at retirement rates. And there are different assumptions for tier 1 versus tier 2. For tier 1, the eligibility is age 55 with 5 years of service. And then at any age, with 30 years of service, right? So you're 30 now, sort of division. And the maximum benefit occurs at 30 years of service. So beyond that, right, the formula is maxed out at 75%. And then tier 2 is slightly different, so that the eligibility is at age 62 with 5 years of service, and the early retirement benefit is reduced. And the maximum there is 35 years of service. So on the right, we're showing for the two different tiers, some of the results. But I guess first, I'm going to take a step back. We did have 3 buckets for tier 1 and 5 buckets for tier 2. And by buckets is for years of service, right? So we're proposing changing to 4 buckets for each and aligning those buckets with the exception of out at the very end, right?
Yeah.
Because there are different maximum number of years for that. So in doing this analysis, versus on the right side here, tier 1, we're looking at actual expected ratios of it as that's like your AE ratio there, as Jack just talked about. And you can see that the current actual expected ratio, 89% for the less than 15 years of service bucket, 74% for 15 to 24, et cetera. You can see that our new proposed assumptions are moving those closer to 100%, right? If your actual expected is 100%, and your presumption is dead on. And the R squared values for the measure of the goodness of the fit, right? So those are also moving towards closer to 100%. And on tier 2, there hasn't been experience, right? This is the first study where we actually have some experience. It's only the under 15 group. And we're proposing some changes there because the assumptions, well, we'll get to that in the next few slides. I guess let's go to some of the results.
And just to mention that, what Steven just, I think these are people retiring from active status. So we also have an assumption when people terminate, what age they're going to retire at, and we don't have any change to that particular assumption. They're retiring.
Yeah, that's right. The last bullet there. No change.
Can I ask a question on that prior slide?
Sure.
All right, so this is me just being lame, and so I apologize if I'm not getting it. So if you have 4 buckets where you're trying to take the population, and so, I mean, that's how I interpret it. 4 buckets, and where are people of the total tier 1 retiring? How can they all be at like 99%? I just don't, I don't understand what you're trying to tell us there.
Oh, okay. So the different buckets are because there is different behavior based on how many years of service someone has. So somebody who's 55 with 30, or say they're whatever, 57 with 30 plus years of service is going to behave differently than somebody with 15 years or in theory, right? So we look at these buckets to see if there's a difference in how we should set these assumptions. So the 99%, that's how well our new assumption is fitting the data we're seeing in this experience period.
Oh, so your current is the what you're seeing? Is the current what you're seeing or what it used to be? Is
yeah,
that
sorry, a little more clarity. The current is the current assumption.
okay?
So this is how well assumptions.
So the 89% means that under the current assumption, for every 100 people we expect to retire in that group, only 89 did. And the 99% is for every 100, 99 did. So it's much closer to matching what the data is showing.
So the
us.
proposed is showing us what the actuals are looking like.
Right. It's comparing what the actual retirement was in the data to what we would predict based on our assumption.
Okay.
And getting something at 99% is
Rare.
A very close match.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see on the next few slides where we, when you set an assumption, you want it to result in something that's closer to what you're seeing than what you previously had. So on the left side is tier 1 retirement rates for folks with 5 to 15 years of service. You can see that there are confidence intervals there, so where there's less data, those confidence intervals get wider. But the gist of it is that the proposed assumption is running a bit, in certain areas running under, right, or at the lower end of those confidence intervals. Whereas the new assumption is a little better. So we're trying to set assumptions, and you know, this is an art as well as a science, but we're trying to set assumptions so that the R squared is sort of a measure of the fit gets closer to 100%, and the actual expected gets closer to 100%. And so that's what we've done here. And on the right, you can see similar the proposed assumptions for the 15 to 24 years of service bucket are being generally a bit lower. And if we move to the next slide, tier 2 rates. Okay, so yeah, did we skip?
Yeah, you skipped.
This is more the same, but it's the other two buckets, right? For tier 1, 25 to 29. You can see the confidence intervals on, you know, the higher ages start to get pretty wide because there's not a lot of actual experience there. In fact, for the 35 year, 30 plus bucket, 30 plus years of service, those are all pretty wide. But the new the green proposed line matches better in terms of the actual expected and the R squared. So those are a visualization of the.
What's the period of time that you're, you know, looking at? Is it just that year or is it over a period of time?
10 years worth of experience.
It's 10 years.
10 years.
So really, it's that wide in the 30 to 35 years of service? There aren't that many people that actually seems strange to me.
What's not that you don't have a lot of people, it's just that in the context, you can really put numbers. It's not as, you don't have as many people in that bucket as you would in the earlier buckets.
I guess another way to interpret it is looking at age, most people are retired by 66. So relatively fewer at 67, 68, and 69. So you have fewer data points.
Yeah.
And thereby a wider confidence interval.
Yeah, well, in fact, you can see at 67 and 69, those are at zero observed. Now that's with 30 plus years of service.
Okay.
So moving on to tier 2, tier 2 is different in that we didn't have experience in the past, right? So in those situations, we use professional judgment, and we were setting the tier 2 retirement assumptions based on CalPERS experience or a similar benefit formula. And now that we actually have some experience coming in, it looks like those rates were a bit lower than we would want to see. So on the right hand side, you can see for 5 to 14 years of service, what the actual experience was, and our proposed assumption is to increase those assumed rates of retirement. For the later buckets, so folks with more years of service where we have no experience, we're basically using professional judgment to say, okay, we want this to look like what we see in other plans, right? So more years of service is what is slightly higher rates of retirement. So those are the other proposed lines we're showing.
So moving on to the termination assumption. So there's a couple of components to it. The first is how many people actually leave the system before they're eligible to retire. So that's what we talk about when we say the termination rates. We actually found that your actual expected ratio and R squared were close enough to 100% for this one. So we're actually not proposing any changes to the termination rate. Now, one of the next components is your refund rates. So when someone terminates, they have the option to take a refund of their contributions, or they can leave it in the system and take a deferred annuity at some point. So this assumption is based on who's going to take that refund and have no further liability. So for the tier 1 rates, they typically vary by age. For 3 years, again, 3 years age groups for the prior assumption. We're proposing that you reduce it to 2 age groups. And we are proposing 100% refund assumption if they have less than 5 years of service, so they're not vested. And we're assuming a 0% refund if they have 15 or more years of service. And the reason for that is that the closer you get to retirement, the more valuable that annuity is, so they're less likely to take the contribution when they terminate. So we're proposing some changes, and it will bring the R squared and the actual to expected ratio closer. So it doesn't necessarily bring it all the way, but it will bring it closer to 100%. For tier 2, we're proposing no changes to this assumption for the refund rate. What we currently value is 100% to the refund, they're not vested, and that they actually they only take the refund if it's more valuable than the annuity. So we have that assumption if they're vested that they're going to take the more valuable option. So as we get more experience with tier 2, we can study even more, but right now we're proposing no change for that one. These graphs just kind of illustrate exactly the experience. So Stephen went through the for retirement, so I'm not going to go through them in detail, but this illustrates the experience for just the refund rates. The next component of termination is, and we spoke about this a little earlier, is reciprocity. So if you don't take your refund and you leave it in the system, what's the probability that you're actually going to earn reciprocity with another employer? So the current assumption is that 30% of the people that leave their contributions in the system will earn reciprocity, and that they're earning the assumption was that they would earn 3% annual increases in salary. So we have to use that final projected salary and they benefit amount for this plan. What we did look at is the way we analyze this, instead of looking at actual reciprocity flags and evaluation data that we get, because that might include people that had reciprocity before they came to the system. We looked at people that actually retired from terminated status in the last 10 years, and we compared their final salary and their benefit amount to the final salary that we had in file from when they actually terminated. And so anyone that had a large enough increase, we assumed it was due to reciprocity. We found that 42% of members had this large increase, and on average, their salaries have increased 4 to 5% from the time that they left the system until they retire. So we're proposing that you increase the reciprocity assumption to be 40%, and that they earn 4% while getting reciprocity.
Okay, so moving on to mortality on slide 22. Generally not proposing much for changes here, although we did see slightly higher rates for the female healthy retirees than expected. So we're proposing increasing our adjustment factors. So not changing the tables, which are the 2010 public general tables, but increasing the factor. So those the rates at which people die, increasing that factor a bit from the 0.96 to 1.02. For on the disabled side, we propose moving from the CalPERS table to a public general table for disabled mortality, and really no other changes. But you can see in the chart on the right side the current versus the proposed actual expected, and you can see that where we folded things, where there's a change, we're trying to get close to 100%. That's what the summary of mortality.
Can I ask a question? This may be a non sequitur, but do you use the same confidence level approach for economic assumptions as well as demographic assumptions?
No, you mean the confidence intervals?
Yes. In
Not
other words, you go back and look at it
because-
historically and try to true up to what the actual experience has been.
No, because typically for economic assumptions, we're not necessarily looking at actual experience and the cost, it's more prediction of the future, what's expected to happen. So we don't have the confidence interval there because we don't actually have specific, like for instance, the discount rate. We might have what we set and what you actually got,
Right.
but to get a confidence interval, you actually need to have the exposure, so the participant counts versus how many people. So you could look at, I guess you could look at a confidence interval. We're looking at the, like for instance, the Horizon survey for a discount rate. We would look at the percentiles within our confidence interval.
So the math gets much more complicated for confidence intervals if you're looking at an assumption that has multiple potential outcomes. We're using them where an event either happens or doesn't happen. You either retire or you don't. You either terminate or you don't. There's only two outcomes to measure. And so that gives us statistically a binomial distribution, which we can use to calculate the confidence interval.
Statistics, huh?
Yeah.
You gotta love it.
Yeah.
When we report, the next assumption is the disability rates, and when people become disabled from active status. We did exclude a couple of years of experience with this one, around the pandemic. We did notice that there was no experience, so there was a little bit of a lag in processing, so we just have to outline.
I'm so sorry. Can I ask you to speak a little closer to the microphone so that we can hear you better? Thank you.
So we're actually not, we didn't see too much difference from the current assumption. So we're just proposing that, in the past, you can use the latest, helpers tables, disability tables. As you can see by the confidence intervals, they're pretty wide for disability. So we're just recommending that you update to the latest helpers tables. And then we're also, based on the actual experience that we've seen in the last 10 years, we're recommending that you increase your duty disability, so it's the disabilities that are service related, from 45% to 50%.
So administrative expenses, our assumption has been pretty close in terms of the total administrative expenses, but we have not been very accurate at allocating them between tier 1 and tier 2. So we talked with Benji about how they allocate the administrative expenses, and we understand that they are allocated to specific tiers to the extent they can attribute the expense to the tier, but beyond that, they are allocated in proportion to assets. We have been currently allocating them in proportion to headcount. I think that was really developed when tier 2 was first implemented. That results in a much heavier weighting to tier 2 than what we are seeing. So we're recommending that we change to allocate between tier 1 and tier 2 based on the percent as a percent of assets in proportion to the market value of assets. And that will allocate less assumed expenses to tier 2 and more assumed expenses to tier 1. Let's go to the next slide.
Can I ask a question to the chair? I apologize. It's regarding the disability slide. Maybe you mentioned this and I missed it, but what exactly does it mean that increase assumed duty disabilities from 45% to 50%? What exactly does that mean?
So the assumption is the incidence rates are just whether a disability occurs. And then when a disability occurs, we have this assumption. Now we're saying half of those are considered duty disabilities and half of them are non-service connected disabilities.
All right, and the factor of when disability occurs is what?
That's what's shown in the chart, that range. So,
Okay, the 20, the
so
5%.
those rates are really small, right?
Yes, no, understood. So there's a lower probability of disability, but once there is a disability or incidence, you're basically saying that half of those are service connected and half of those are not.
Correct.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Thank you.
So we also have to track, make an assumption about how many members are married at retirement. This data has been consistent, so we are not proposing any changes. But what is changing, excuse me, is the age difference between the member and spouse. And we've seen a trend over time of those age differences getting closer. So we are recommending a change for male members to be assumed to be 2 years older than their spouse rather than 3. It does not make a huge difference, but it's a minor change here. So now getting to the impact of all of these assumption changes, you can see that the actuarial liability would increase by about $23 million on the almost $5 billion in assets. So that would reduce the funded percentage from 58.5 to 58.2%. It does have a bigger impact on the normal cost rate, which goes into the member rates. It's split between the members and the city. So tier 1, we're seeing an increase from 7.5% to 8.2% for members, and tier 2, 8.1% to 8.3% for members. Slight increase in the city rate and the city contribution of about 3.4 million. We do want to say that part of that increase for tier 1 is based on the current allocation method for the administrative expenses. As you recall, we are allocating more administrative expenses to tier 1, and that is about 30 basis points of the 70 basis point increase for tier 1 members. And we have asked legal counsel about how the administrative expenses should be split. And so we're awaiting an opinion from legal counsel on that. So that impact on tier 1 members could change.
Please, if I may comment on that, you'll see at the bottom of Chiron's slide 26 in very small font. It says tier 1 member and city rates are pending legal opinion on who pays administrative expenses. We've been having this dialogue with Chiron when we first got the slide, because of the statement on this slide. It says tier 1 is affected more significantly. Tier 1 member cost increase. We've been doing a deep dive in the municipal code on this. There is a difference in the federated system between who pays the administrative expenses of the system. There's a difference between tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 1 members by statute specifically only pay a share of normal cost. And there's specific language in the municipal code that says that all administrative costs shall come out of employer contributions and not out of member contributions. So we're putting the finishing touches on that as an advisory, but we wanted to give everyone a heads up, and also to Chiron, that this statement, that to the extent that they're anticipating charging any of the administrative costs to tier one members' contributions, that's not going to be permitted. The code says that all administrative expenses come out of employer contributions, not out of member contributions. That may be a change. We'll have to look in and see how that's been handled in the past. But I think going forward, as part of the discussion today, I feel confident in recommending to the board that the adoption of the recommendations from Chiron today also include an instruction to apportion whatever the tier one administrative costs are to the employer contributions as part of the unfunded liability that is paid by employer contributions and no attribution to member contributions.
Okay.
And then by our next meeting, we'll have a more formal opinion for you in that regard.
Very good, thank you.
And so that would reduce the tier one member contribution by 1.1% of pay. So it would be estimated at 7.1.
So it go down?
Yes.
Yes.
They would go
for the
city.
And so then that balance would go to the city.
Why would, so did the 7.5 include the administrative expense previously?
It did.
Oh,
We've historically had tier one members pay a portion of the administrative expense.
interesting.
And I assume this impacts a relatively small and vanishing number of employees. So the total dollar impact is relatively.
Small number?
We have a sizable population of tier one.
they're pretty,
it's a pretty big population. But
Yeah.
tier one is only about a third of the total population. According to
Yeah,
the
if you go back to slide 7, you can see
payroll
what we
continues.
have.
It continues to dwindle, but it's
Okay, not
it's hard
insignificant,
to know
but
that we'll
decline.
have to.
Yeah.
And so of course, this is just for tier one. Tier two members are to share part of the administrative costs.
Correct.
Right, so there's no dispute there.
And can I ask a question that may be left unexamined, probably better, but is your analysis going to address what to do with prior administrative costs that were charged to them?
I think we better.
Does that mean we owe people a refund?
What we need to know is for how long has this practice been, we need some data from Chiron in terms of how long has the practice of charging tier one members administrative fees been going on? And what is the magnitude of that charge? It doesn't look significant if it's 1% of pay, but that's still cumulatively, that could be a material number.
Okay,
At present, we don't have a confidence level in what that number is. But that's what we're gonna try to get our arms around.
okay, great.
Well, Harvey, good job. Seriously, as a tier one member and a city employee.
I think Julie may have already had that money spent.
This is making a
All right, so we're moving forward to the board decisions based on all this. First of all, it's sobering to look at the sheer number of discrete assumptions that go into this analysis. Even though the net of it is relatively small in dollar terms, it's important to correct our assumptions as the years go on. So I guess we're looking for a motion to accept the proposed changes from Chiron.
We also just want to note on this final slide, in the refund section, we have some specifics for the tier 2 refund
A
rate.
little closer to the mic.
We actually are recommending no change to that, so we can strike the last 2 bullets in the refunds.
Like the last 2 bullets of the refund. Okay.
And I thought we couldn't allocate between tiers. I thought that's what we were just talking about for administrative experience.
No,
expenses?
it's not allocating it between the tiers, it's allocating, once you've allocated
Who
How much?
pays for it?
how much
Right.
is allocated then for.
Whether it's the city or the employee or
Okay,
something. Okay.
So if I may,
Please.
the motion could include, acceptable to the mover, could include direction to Chiron to charge tier one administrative expenses solely to the employer.
yeah.
Okay. Well, before we get to motions, are there any other questions from trustees? And so would someone like to make a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion.
I'll move that we adopt the proposed changes and the addition from Mr. Daly.
Okay, so that's a motion from.
But wait a
trustee
minute. Is that motion to,
Is to accept the proposed changes and direct Chiron to deduct all tier one administrative costs from the city side. If
from the
that's correct.
city side or no, from the employee side?
Oh, from the employee side.
Member side.
Yeah.
From the member side.
And the member to the city.
And I think,
understand
and I
correctly.
think the motion also needs to include what Jackie
Right.
just said, the last two bullet points on slide 27, on the refunds would be stricken.
Yeah,
And the mover agrees. So is there a second for that detailed motion?
I
I'll
second.
second it. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, trustee Abbott first.
That's fine.
Any further discussion on the motion? Any public comment? We will roll call vote. Trustee Vice Chair Jennings,
Aye.
Trustee Chandra,
Aye.
Trustee Abbott,
Aye.
Trustee Linder. Aye. Trustee Faulkner,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. The motion passes. Sure. All right, so we're on, that was items 5C and D. We're up to 5E.
I actually did have a question,
Okay,
and it's sort of, when we look at the changes that are happening with this particular retirement system, do they seem to be consistent generally with the changes you're seeing in other retirement systems like police and fire? It's just, or CalPERS or things like that, or it's just so detailed you don't.
It's hard to compare demographic assumptions across the board, just because every area is unique. It's easier to rather than economic
Yeah,
assumptions. So I couldn't really say, I will say, you know, in general, you're seeing that people are living longer, right?
Yeah.
So the mortality, that would be something that we're seeing pretty consistently across the board. But in general, the other ones are pretty specific to the plan and provisions. I would do that.
I would add that with our recent history with inflation and stuff, we are certainly seeing higher salary increases across all of our plans, higher than assumed. So there is some of that carries across.
and I would imagine public safety may have very different disability rates than the federal plan.
Yes.
Yes,
So
very
Very
good.
different.
So it could be very different experiences. So with that, I'd like to take a break for 5 minutes before we proceed to 5E. Hopefully Chiron is acceptable to that. And then we'll dive into the OPEB assumptions. All right. So I believe we're up to item 5E, our OPEB assumptions. Please proceed.
I'm gonna turn this over to Mike Shunning and the rest of our team to present the OPEB assumptions.
Okay, so again, give a little bit of background. This is really to set the OPEB assumptions, so the very specific assumptions for the OPEB evaluation and what we do for the board. First page is some background is the OPEB plan is actually mostly closed, so only tier 1 members who did elect to join the DIVA actually get the full benefits. And there's also a small benefit available to someone who with a catastrophic disability to exhaust the benefit, they get a benefit until Medicare eligibility. The member contributions into the fund are actually fixed at 7.5% pay. And then the city contribution is actually set by this board. There is a cap at 14% in pay, so if contribution ever exceeds 14% in pay, the city is elected to cap its contribution. Right now, this contribution is well below that. And the upcoming valuation will actually be developing the city's contribution for fiscal 2025, and will be used for the active 74, 75, and 40 for fiscal year ending September 2021. The next page shows the historical projections. Again, these are based on the last valuation, but it does include the impact of what the assets were as of 6/30/2023. And you can really see at the end of 2022, the plan was 60% funded. Now, using the projected liabilities, we're actually up to 63% funded. And if all assumptions are met going forward, in the next 15 years, the plan will actually be fully funded. And then you can look at the city's contributions, they're actually fairly flat to declining over time. The member contributions will be dropping as well as those numbers retire. So it's kind of the city's contributions are fairly consistent going forward. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the actual OPEB assumptions. And so in general, we use the same assumptions for the pension plan where it's appropriate, which are really the economic assumptions of the price inflation, wage inflation, as well as all of the demographic assumptions. The reality is the retirement is dry, that people don't really base their retirement decision on what their healthcare benefits are going to be. But there are some unique OPEB assumptions, and they're really healthcare trend rates, so how much healthcare costs are going to increase in the future, what plans people will elect once they retire and lose elections, the administrative expenses, and the expected return on assets. And so basically an overview is our overall recommendations. There are some changes to the trend rates because again, unfortunately, short-term trends are up due to inflation. Some slight changes in the plan elections. There's actually changed a little bit over time, and a little bit of a change in lieu tiers. Changes that happened. Other than that, really no significant changes. The biggest impact is really in the explicit subsidy piece. So basically, members are reimbursed for the amount of cost for the lowest cost plan offering to active employees. And in our last valuation, we expected that to be up by a little bit more than 7%, and the actual increase was a little bit over 10%. So caught up a bit. So basically all pre-Medicare members will receive that additional subsidy. In addition, we expected the Medicare piece to go up by 4%. For the Anthem, which is about 60% of the population, it was a little bit below that. But the Kaiser was significantly higher than that, 16%. And because all of those premiums are well under what the maximum subsidy is, all of that amount basically shifts to the trust. So we'll kind of see some actual losses to do that, and premium experiences are higher than expected.
So for the trend rates, for our long-term projections, we use a model published by Society of Actuaries, and that's consistent with prior years. We have updated, as Mike mentioned, the initial short-term trend expectations. So our initial trend expectations for non-Medicare plans are, we have a 10% trend initially, and for Medicare plans, we have 6% trend initially. And those trends are graded downward linearly toward a long run trend rate of 4.97% by 2032. Now the 4.97% is GDP growth of plus 1%, reflecting that healthcare has been growing faster than GDP. And then that grades down to GDP over the long run by 2075, reflecting the fact that that can't happen forever. And then the trend is just kept at 3.5%, consistent with prior years. So then this slide just shows a comparison of our proposed trend rates this year to last year's trend rates. And you can see the higher trends initially. And the proposed trends are actually a little bit lower over the long run, between 2032 and 2075. And we also looked at plan elections. So a couple adjustments there that are highlighted in red. The Kaiser deductible HMO, we decreased that assumption to 8%. We also decreased the Anthem Select PPO participation assumption and saw corresponding increases in the Anthem traditional $20 copay plan and the Anthem high deductible plan. For the Medicare eligible plans, we've seen slightly higher participation in the Kaiser Senior Advantage plan, so we bumped that up by 1%. Offsetting the 1% decrease that we would have seen in the Anthem PPO plan, we've assumed everyone in the Anthem HMO plan will migrate over to that Anthem PPO plan, so that assumption stays the same. And we also looked at the in lieu coverage tiers, and we now have about 6 years of data on that. So we made some adjustments there, primarily fewer retiree only and retiree above family elections.
The last two assumptions that we looked at, the first one is the administrative expenses. So typically we have $1 a month per member, and we increase it with the assumed wage inflation 3%. So the current assumption, using the current assumption, it would have been $106.09. So we took that, we looked at it, we looked at the historical administrative expenses for the current year and increased them with the assumed wage inflation. So there was a change in the administrative expense allocation back to the fiscal year ending 2020. So we've only looked at data since then. So the average adjusted expense per member for the last 4 years is about $99.33. And if we increase that with the wage inflation to the end of fiscal year ending 2025, it comes out to be about $105.38. So we're proposing changing the assumption to just be around $105 per member for fiscal year ending 2025. And assuming that it'll increase with future wage inflation each year after that.
Can I ask a question on the administrative expenses? Is this the same situation as the pension? In other words,
no, it's not, because we're not allocating it between the tiers, and it's not getting allocated to the participants. It's not the same for the pension and 311s versus the 8011s.
No, I get that, but you are accounting for some expenses that would eventually have an impact on a cost that is paid by employees with tier 1. So I'm just raising the question. I don't know. I mean, I may be thinking too much, but I don't want to make it more difficult.
Because Measure F actually dictated employees will contribute 8.5% of salary. So therefore, it's just like, this is what you're contributing towards benefit.
That is true.
So that's really, so they're just contributing that amount and we're really getting expenses at all.
So we're keeping track of these for just so that we can determine the funding status.
Can be charged to the employer.
Right. It's going to be an employer contribution.
Oh, okay, all right, understood. Thank you.
And then the loss assumption we're gonna look at is the expected return on assets. So this is, setting your discount rate for the plan. We look at, the investment consultant, they provided us the capital market assumptions for, 2023, and it's over a 10 and 20-year time, period. We also looked at the Horizon survey, which includes 42 consultants for a 10-year time horizon and 27 consulting firms for the 20-year. There were significant increases, about 150 to 200 basis points from the year from last year. So that is, that's illustrated in the chart to the right. You can see the 50th percentile has got a much higher expected average distribution of your average returns. So, so it's much higher than it was last year. This year shows this graph here shows the historical. So, basically, as your capital market fluctuations, your interest rates, your valuations, your PB ratios. But when you're looking at your discount rate, you wanted to fall typically between your 10 and 20-year expectations. So it gets you between 40 to 70% of your present value or benefit. Right now, your current discount rate is 6%, which is very conservative when it's compared to the new capital market assumption. There's significant changes over the prior years. The graph to the left shows you that range between your the bars show you the range of your 10 to 20-year time horizon, and the gold diamonds are what the discount rate for the plan was in that year. So you can see for most of the year, for our last 5 years, it fell within that range, but you can see how much higher those ranges are now. They're not wider, but they're much higher for 2023. So it kind of indicates, your first instinct would be like, well, do we need to increase the discount rate? But what you've got to take into consideration is all these increases in the capital market assumptions temporary based on the environment right now.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to increase the discount rate, but it's very painful and difficult to decrease it over time. And we just, we would like to keep in mind that it's okay for your discount rate to be less than the expected returns. The reverse is not okay. So if the capital market assumptions are much lower, it wouldn't be okay for you to set your discount rate much higher. So we are proposing that you do not change your discount rate this year, just to kind of wait and see if it's really a temporary shift in the environment. But if you did decide that you wanted to increase your discount rate, we would recommend that small steps in increasing your fee would be prudent.
Okay, are there any questions from trustees? So I would propose that we split our decision between all of the assumptions except discount rate and then look at discount rate, since that seems to be the most consequential. So if anyone would like to make a proposal on the assumptions other than discount rate, that would be a great time to do that.
Any particular reason you want to split them out?
Just so we could have a more fulsome discussion on the discount rate itself, if that's what we want to do. Again, that's my proposal. If you wish to make a motion on all assumptions, you as a trustee are free to do so.
And we can also have a discussion prior to making motions as well. I mean, if we want to, if people have questions about the discount rate, why don't we just dive into that?
Okay.
I agree.
I mean, I'm strongly in support of not changing the discount rate, but if others disagree, then we can have a conversation about it.
Okay. Are there other views on that? Any questions about any of the assumptions and
So
specifically discount rate.
Yeah, so I agree with trustee Chandra that,
Mhm.
you know, the discount rate, we just heard that we have 16 basis points so far.
Well, that was on the pension plan, not on, on the
yeah, I know.
OPEB.
But,
It's actually probably better on OPEB.
okay,
I don't know if our CIO has a separate number for the OPEB performance to date.
I think it's about a negative 1.5%.
Oh, negatives?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem to me like we want to increase our discount rate, right? Based on current performance.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would want to have a real thorough capital markets discussion with Nikita,
Yeah.
to think about the 10 and 20 year, because again, I think reacting to 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year is a real mistake.
Yeah.
Generally.
Mhm.
I'm not saying we should change either way. I'm just saying we should hold everything based on where we are.
Yeah, this is Laura from Makita, and I would support not increasing the discount rate based on capital market assumptions from last year.
Okay. Well, it sounds like there's not a lot of interest in changing the discount rate. Certainly, you know, again, as we looked at even last month, we looked at the main, we're in a position where we could actually begin to consider raising the discount rate, which is kind of a sea change since I've been here. So that's encouraging. It seems that the OPEB assumption is even more conservative than our 6 5/8 for the main pension plan. But it certainly makes sense to hold it steady. So are there any other questions or comments on all the assumptions collectively?
I just want to reiterate, I know this came up, so the administrative expenses there, this is not something that's being passed on to the employees or anything like that, it's just updating the assumption, is that correct?
It's actually an assumption for the employer portion, because the employee contributions are set rate. So they do not change from year to year, and they're not dependent on their decision.
Did you hear that, Joe?
It's really hard, it's like an echo when they talk, so, but can you repeat it for me, please?
Yes, so the administrative expense assumption, it really is, it's going to be reflected in the employer contribution and city contribution. Because the employee contributions are a set rate, that assumption does not affect the employee contributions expense, their contribution.
Okay, so no change to the employee contribution.
Correct.
Short.
But a change on the total dollar amount.
A total, yeah, because of the salary increases.
Mr. Chair, I will move all the recommendations, including the discount rate.
Okay, so we have a motion from trustee Linder to accept all recommendations as presented by Chiron. Is there a second?
A second.
We have a second from trustee Abbott. Any further trustee discussion? Any comment from the public? Any raised hands online? No? So we will vote. Vice Chair Jennings?
Aye.
Trustee Chandra?
Aye.
Trustee Abbott?
Aye.
Trustee Linder?
Aye.
Trustee Faulkner?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Motion carries. Thank you. I look forward to seeing Chiron next month. So now we have item 5F, discussion and action to amend the contract with Reed Smith to change the designated quote-unquote attorney representative.
Mr. Chair, so
Yes.
let me kick that off. First, I do, well, so you have the contract and you contract with Reed Smith, they have a section that indicates a designated attorney rep. That attorney has been Harvey Lideman since the initial engagement of Reed Smith with the boards. And as many of you know, Harvey is actually finally retiring, well-deserved retirement after many years in the industry. I do recall, did I say too many? I do recall in my initial position with Fresno County in 2002, I met Harvey. That is over 20 years ago, and you know, we have been working in different systems from time to time. In fact, Harvey was the person that called me back home in Puerto Rico and told me that this position was coming up and if I wanted to apply. So, in any case, I personally going to be sad to see Harvey retire. It's been a real pleasure and really an honor working with you for the last some 20 years, and I wish you nothing but the best and a long and healthy retirement. But coming back to this item, in the contract, you as a board get to designate who your attorney representative is. You have been working with the MATAC for the last, maybe if I'm mistaken, correctly, 6-9 months. I'm not really sure.
Like
2 years.
2 years.
No, yeah, but coming to the boards and you've been behind the scenes for longer than that, but attending the board meetings and everything else. And so, in a nutshell, the recommendation before you this morning is to swap Harvey as the attorney representative for the boards and install MATAC. This is really your board decision. Let me just give you some background on that. The last time that the office conducted an RFP for general and legal services was in the spring of 2020. We like to do RFPs every 5 years or so. So the next one is due, or we will come back to you, probably not me, but the staff in general, closer to the spring of 2025 to issue another RFP. I am recommending for you to consider at least designated MATAC Chin as you representative at this point. It is certainly your decision. You can ask questions of MATAC and talk to her. You could indicate that you want to do it for 6 months and issue a new RFP, and we'll be happy to do that. You could also work with MATAC for the next few years and then just conduct your general RFP at the general time in 2025 if you call. But the recommendation before you is to designate MATAC as the attorney rep. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure that if you have any questions to reach me, they'll be happy to address it themselves. Thank you.
Great. Are there any questions from trustees about our board legal counsel? Okay. Well, I'll certainly add to your comments. We've relied on Harvey's wisdom, judgment, and experience for the entire time I've been on the board. That sounds like for much longer than that. So we're sorry to see him go. Never has a person sat through as many full pension board meetings as Harvey Lederman. That in itself is quite a achievement. But if anyone would like to make a motion about transferring our designation of attorney representative to MATAC Chen, now would be the time to do so.
I so motion.
We have a motion from trustee Abbott. Do we have a second?
Well, second, since she beat me to the first.
Okay, we have a second from a slow hand trustee Chandra.
I'm not gonna play Jeopardy, I guess.
Do we have any discussion or questions from trustees? Any public comment? Anybody online? All right, we will then have roll call vote. Vice Chair Jennings?
Aye.
Trustee Chandra?
Aye.
Trustee Abbott?
Aye.
Trustee Linder?
Aye.
Trustee Faulkner?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So
Unanimous.
it is unanimous. Thank you, Attorney Chen. You are now our official representative.
Well, thank you everyone for that. I appreciate it. And I've been working with the plan since 2014 as litigation counsel, but more formally as your general counsel, outside general counsel, and fiduciary counsel at the meeting more recently. So I appreciate the opportunity to continue working with you, which leads me into the next agenda item. You're ready.
Okay, we are.
Okay.
Hitting the ground running, 5G.
You know, all business. I appreciate your time and I respect your time. So, as some of you may be aware that the city auditor presented his report to the city council, and the mayor issued a memorandum in response. I appeared before the city council, earlier I think it was about 2 weeks ago, as fiduciary counsel to comment on the mayor's memorandum to make clear that we are addressing the issues raised in the audits and are exercising our independent authority to do so. The mayor had, as Roberto mentioned in his comments, directed the boards and ORS to report back within 45 days on our progress, determining whether or not we are going to adopt any or all of the city processes and procedures and policies, and or if we're going to develop our own. Now, there are definitely instances where the board should absolutely exercise their independence from the plan sponsor, and those areas are generally encompassed under the California Constitution. Those relate to, for example, benefit administration, actuarial services, investments. Those are the three main functions that are constitutionally bestowed on this board, that the city is separate from the city's functions. But there are instances where it's more prudent to adopt and follow the city policies, and given that ORS is a city department. So after consideration of the laws governing the board's authorities and practical considerations in my review of the city policies, I am presenting to the board today my assessment of where it is prudent to adopt city policies. And so if you go with me to the backup document for item 5G, I've listed out a series of the city policies, and in the right-hand column have indicated where I believe it's prudent for the board to adopt these policies for ORS. Most of these deal with, for example, fair employment, ethical conduct, health and safety, drug-free workplace, et cetera, et cetera. There are instances where I want to take a deeper look at the policies before I recommend one way or the other to follow those city policies. But in light of the mayor's direction for us to come back within 45 days, this is my recommendation to the board.
All right, thank you. Any question from trustees on this matrix?
There's one question.
Please.
So when you talk about review for compatibility with Major G, is that just because of all the things that are loaded onto Major G?
Well, we just want to make sure that it's reserving the right of our boards, for example, for compensation for the CEO, if it works out with the city policies or not. Similarly for the CIO position, we're giving specific authority over setting compensation. So I want to make sure that it's compatible with our independent authority under Measure G.
That makes sense to me. Thank you.
I have one question. That's chapter 6.1, general procedures. It says adopt all for RS except for city policy number 6.19. And it says it should be reviewed for compatibility with the Constitution, but it's energy fund transfers and deposits.
Yeah,
And I have no idea what that is.
Right, so I'm not exactly sure either. I haven't had the opportunity to take a look at it. The only consideration, for example, is if it infringes in any way of our administration of our plan. I don't think it should, but I'm reserving the right to go back and take a look at it.
Okay.
So very good.
So
I
So
also
there's
have a
what-
question on the travel piece.
go ahead.
So, Maytek, can you give us a little more how you're looking at that? So modify city policy to be tailored to the plan administration for
Sure, so if you
compatibility.
So if you look at the page 2 where it talks about chapter 1.8 travel and transportation, you'll see that we have adopted most all of the policies with the exception of employee travel. That's the only section where I think that we may want to take a closer look at to see if we can provide more restrictive travel policies for that. For example, I've heard from staff and also from the board, there are times where a cheaper option is available, but it's not within city policy. So if you're not staying at the hotel where a conference is held, and there's a cheaper option elsewhere, you're not allowed to book the cheaper option. You have to book the conference hotel rate instead, even though it's more expensive to the plan. That's inconsistent with our fiduciary duties. And so, we may want to take a look at that to make a more restrictive plan where it makes more financial sense for our plan rather than following city policies.
Now, are you saying that in every case, our proposal would be more restrictive? Or are there possibilities where we want to be less restrictive
Well, I think with
for
travel
the
in particular,
efficiency?
well, I think with travel in particular, we would want to be more restrictive, because of fiduciary considerations of how much we're spending. I don't think we want to give more latitude for people to spend more than what the city policy provides. But there are other areas where we may be broader. For example, contract and procurements. We may have a more lax policy on certain things, so we can make sure that we can get the right vendors. So here's an example where, there's some friction currently. We currently hire a vendor that sends death notifications, so we don't pay members who are deceased. That vendor contract is currently set to lapse, but we've sent it to the procurement policy or procurement department at the city, and they've just sat on it. And so our contract actually is going to lapse in January, and we haven't been able to get the procurement department to move that contracting forward. The purchaser that was assigned to that contract was let go or somehow moved on from the department, and our vendor contract has languished. And so that's a situation where in emergency circumstances, we would like to reserve that right, because if we continue to pay benefits where a member is deceased, that's potentially a lot of money out of the system.
More than the cost of the vendor.
Right.
With respect to employee travel, I think we at least could look at some balance between cost and efficiency.
Right.
Which may produce not a more restrictive, but in terms of cost, perhaps slightly less restrictive, but that has some respect for the traveling employee and some respect for reasonable convenience.
Right,
And that sort of thing.
Right, because I think the San Jose's current travel policy requires employees to fly out of San Jose.
Right, this may not
Right.
always be sensible.
Exactly, because there might be a cheaper flight or more convenient to fly out of San Francisco for the connection flights for our staff to get there. So, we're not
Okay.
legislating currently, but those parameters would be, it's just to highlight some examples of things we would consider.
So,
Thank you, Mr. All right.
Maytag, I thought we also heard that we wanted more control over travel so that we could get approvals faster. Because some cases, things needed to happen at a more expedient rate. So there might be more things in this chapter that we want to come back and revisit in a little more detail, I would think.
Yes, that's correct. So this is just the city's policy, so I've just identified which portions of the city policies we want to adopt. That's not to say that the boards can't exercise their rulemaking authority on any other areas related to travel. We could certainly do that. The only thing here is that I've identified where we would adopt the city policy. So that's the only decision point that's provided to the board today.
Mr. Payne, you had a.
No, I just wanted to echo your words. I'm glad you raised the issue, because I know council used the word restrictive, and I think your point is well taken, and also yours, trustee Abbott. I think we want to have flexibility and have an effective policy, because just saying that is, and I know that was not your intention, but just using the word restrictive is it sort of limits the options, and we want to make sure that certainly we don't want to spend more than we should, but we want to make it convenient. I know one of the issues on the travel is the approval is required by the city manager. Obviously, that will be, I'm assuming, one of the issues we're going to be looking at, because I can imagine what the city manager has to approve for a group to be traveling, right? So.
Yeah, so I think, and this is more properly a governance committee function where we would take a closer look at the policies and say, okay, where does this work for us? And where do we want some exceptions where we could, trigger that and exercise our authority. But for the most part, I don't think we deviate too far from city policies, but we do want to take a look to see what's fitting us.
Right. Yeah, I was merely suggesting that cost alone is not the only metric.
Right.
We need to look at efficiency, suitability to purpose, et cetera.
So one more question. If we veer from the city policy based on Measure G or the constitutional article, I assume that has to be negotiated in a way, or at least discussed with the city, because they're still going to be processing the request. So that's where we clarify and codify, whatever needs to be done. So the city understands, okay, we're dealing with ORS on these, and then they follow those guidelines, thus not stumbling on the travel.
Yeah, I mean, that's up for future discussion. Right now, the only decision point put before the board is whether or not to adopt the recommended policies from the city. There are
Okay.
areas between the city policies, the municipal code, the charter, and our own policies and procedures within, for our board, our charters. And there's gray area. There's a lot of gray area that maybe need to be addressed with the city by an MOU. But that's not before, we haven't engaged the city with that dialogue yet. So we haven't identified all the gray areas that require city collaboration. That would be brought up with the governance committee. But the point for action today is whether or not to adopt the recommended policies as stated in the matrix.
Okay, I got it.
So
I'm ready. I'm done.
to clarify then, the vision is we've identified areas of possible separation of procedures. Then we will, next step, figure out exactly what procedures we are proposing, if we are proposing. And then the final step is to propose an MOU or negotiate one with the city where we have separate procedures. So that's the ultimate,
overall.
the ultimate North
Right.
Star
So-
is this MOU.
So right now, these policies are kind of the low hanging fruit
Mhm.
because they're already drafted, they're city vetted policies. I believe it's prudent to just adopt those.
Mhm.
But with the reservation that we want to take a look at some of the other ones to
Okay.
make sure they fit us.
And so I'm seeing, we're adopting lots of policies as is from the city, but still quite a few areas of review. And what do you have the resources to do this? Do we have the resources? Do you think is the timeline for us to analyze and vet these?
Well, that's actually what I want to bring up with the governance committee. We have a governance committee meeting on November 27th. And so what I envision there is to provide my assessment in terms of a work plan, likely going with the lower hanging fruit first, just clear that out of the way and work to see what the governance committee wants to do. We may engage Cortex, we may have staff take a first look, we might have, legal is obviously going to look at it before it gets
Mhm.
presented to the board, but
Okay.
we'll see what the governance committee wants to do, and it'll be a joint meeting.
So at this point, do we need a motion to approve this matrix of areas for investigation, I would call it, or analysis?
Yes.
Are there any other questions from trustees?
Harvey has a
Just a
comment.
comment, I take it then that with this motion, and a similar motion with police and fire, that in response to the mayor's request that we return within 45 days from the last meeting that was the city council and give them a status update, that this would be the core of the status update.
Right.
Right. And in addition to the matrix, in terms of responding to that request, will we have some prose explanation about why we are carving out the specific areas that we're carving out?
Yeah, for the most part, it's just, I would envision, I haven't drafted the letter yet,
Okay,
and so I can take direction from the board and how you want to go about it, but the way I'm envisioning, and again, it would be from the chief chairs, is, look, we've adopted all these city policies, we're looking into further examples of, these areas.
Mhm.
And may develop policies, but I do think it's prudent to go back to the city and say, hey, we're not rogue. We have adopted some of the policies and we're acknowledging it publicly.
Okay.
And I did want to highlight to them the death vendor contract issue because it is important to our plan.
Okay. And just for clarification, I believe police and fire have already approved this matrix. Is that
That's correct.
Okay.
That's good.
So with all that said, the chair will entertain a motion to approve this matrix.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
So we have a motion from trustee Linda. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from trustee Chandra. Is there any further trustee discussion? Any public comment? Raised hands? No, we will vote. Vice Chair Jennings,
Aye.
trustee Chandra,
Aye.
trustee Abbott,
Aye.
trustee Linder,
Aye.
trustee Faulkner,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Motion passes.
Thank you so much. A lot of work.
Yeah, and much more to come.
No more.
Yeah.
This is these more to come.
Yeah, it's coming.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
before we go to the next item, can I left something out on my reporting and I wanted
Ah.
to bring it up now. If you could just give me 2 minutes.
I believe we can indulge you, sir.
I appreciate that. So you all know there is an actual joint personnel committee of the boards that have been working in a lot of issues including a review of salary ranges for the CEO, CIO, and investment officers, as well as possible incentive compensation. To that extent, after many meetings at the JPC, Trustee Andrew Gardenier from Police and Fire and your chair, Spencer Horowitz, attended a council meeting. I believe it was in October, early October.
It was late September.
Or late September, with the presentation, not on incentive compensation, but there was an actual work completed and a review by Cobb and Associates on a comparison of salary ranges for those positions with similar systems across the state of California. There was a presentation made and a recommendation to expand or to move up those salary ranges. The city council actually deferred the decision on that matter and requested their own staff to do some further work, including, I believe, and I'm mistaken, correct me, to review how, especially those salaries of the CEO and CIO will impact or compare to the salaries of other directors at the city level. The city is actually right now, in terms of coming back to present to the city council, they have designated December 5th, the date that they're considering going back. I just wanted to let you know, Andrew is well aware of that. I'm not sure if for Federated will be Spencer or Anurag this time around to attend the city council meeting. But I wanted to let you know that that issue about the compacting issue with the salaries at this office and salaries at the city and the study and review done by the city staff on that, they will be presenting that to the city council on the 5th. And I think they also may be talking about the request, which is, your request is to bring the salary ranges of Metro G to the 50th percentile. So they have comments on that. Once that information is available and public, I will make it available to the trustees that will be attending the council meeting. But I neglected to bring you up to date on that issue, and I wanted to let you know now. So happy to answer any questions.
Just one slight correction, our proposal, if you will remember, was to actually bring the salary ranges up to
75%.
the 75th percentile.
Thank you. Yes.
That was deferred, and in terms of attendance, I believe Trustee Chandra and I had a discussion, and as Trustee Chandra actually is the vice chair of the JPC, I believe he will commit to attending the December 5th meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. With JPC member Andrew Gardner.
Yes, thank you for the correction. You are correct. The 50%, that is actually the city side of the equation.
That's their vision of things.
Yes, thank
or
you.
at least articulated so far. So if there's any other questions about that issue? Okay, move on to 5H, the delegate issue of nominations for chair and vice chair for the next calendar year. And I believe a single trustee can do nomination. We don't need a second. And I think trustees can feel free to nominate themselves. In fact, I would encourage that.
Oh, actually, the nominees must be nominated by another voting member under the election
All right.
policy.
No, so.
You try.
Okay. But nevertheless, it just takes a single voice can change the course of history. So should we do the chair first? If there are any nominations for board chair, it's I can recommend the job. It's a lot of fun. It takes almost no time whatsoever, and will certainly give you insights that are not necessarily available to trustees at large. So.
Well, I will enthusiastically nominate for another term, Spencer Horowitz.
Hearing you might say that. Are there any other nominations? Okay, well, that silence speaks volumes. It is, it has been a big challenge this past year. It has been a lot of time. Insofar as we are in a state of flux on so many issues, I would accept the nomination. I believe we can still have nominations. We're gonna actually vote on the chair in the next December meeting. And so we could accept nominations as late as that.
That's correct.
So there's still another chance for people to consider and reconsider. And we certainly need, we need new blood in the chairmanship as we move forward. And we will now go on to nominations of vice chair. Let me simply say, I will almost certainly be absent for some meetings next year. So whoever is our vice chair will be chairing meetings and with all the other responsibilities that come with that. And probably in that case, a physical presence in person would be most efficient. That is here, at the meeting place in San Jose.
And before we move on, I do want to thank you for your service. We've got a lot of issues right now, and I think having the same horse midstream, continuing all the way is really beneficial, so thank you.
Okay, well, I appreciate that.
I agree.
This horse is getting flogged, but okay. Nominations for the August position of vice chair. Would anybody like to be nominated for that position? We currently have Vice Chair Jennings doing an admirable job. I don't know if she's willing to do this for another year, or if someone else would like to step into that position, possibly as teeing up a prospective run for chairmanship in the coming year.
You look like you're considering.
For me,
Yeah.
I would have to quit if I was taking on any single greater responsibility. My employer's already unhappy with how much time I
Are
spend.
you saying quit your job or quit the board?
No,
I thought we might have to
At
quit.
at the great rate they pay me, I unfortunately have to keep the full-time.
You're actually, it's all about money for you, huh? Okay.
I do like feeding my family, Spencer.
Okay. Often it is.
Happy to put back the name of the current vice chair.
Okay,
And hopefully we can work out when you're gone, she can be present.
okay,
Yeah, if I need to go in, I can go
all right.
in. Roads are open and that's all, during the winter time and all, so.
Just make sure you leave earlier in case there's an accident.
Yeah, perhaps trustee Linda can pick you up on the way from Santa Cruz.
Wow.
Okay. So you're willing to accept the nomination. Are there any other?
I'm
nominations?
willing to accept it. My planned retirement date is March 2025, and then I will be retiring and will be like trustee Linder, one of the retirees.
Okay,
Probably not as busy as him.
all right. Well, I must say there's no valor in, winning an election unopposed. So,
Well, there's unanimity in that.
I believe Stalin felt the same way.
Oh, wow.
All right, if there are no other nominations, I believe we're ready to move over to item 5I, standing committee assignments. And there is a proposed change I would like to make there. Currently, the Joint Personnel Committee, who has obviously been very active on a number of issues, I would like to swap out trustee Jennings for trustee Linder. And, with 7 trustees and 15 committee assignments, there's always one poor unfortunate trustee who ends up taking one more committee assignment than the rest of us. And trustee Linder looks like he's getting the short end of that stick right now. But hopefully he's willing to serve. I believe he is. And the reason for this is quite specific. The Joint Personnel Committee is in the process of forming an ad hoc committee of the Joint Personnel Committee to begin the process of hiring, of identifying and hiring a search firm to help us in the process of hiring a new CEO for the plan. So, Mr. Linder has considerable experience in this area. He serves, as you probably know, as an interim city manager for plans around the state or for cities around the state, not for pension plans. And has also, before retirement, was a senior city manager here in San Jose. So I think he's well placed and has experience in this very specific function. So his assistance at the Joint Personnel Committee would be highly desired. So is there's any questions or discussion? I will entertain a motion to adopt this new committee assignments.
So moved.
We have a motion from trustee Chandra, second
Second.
from trustee Abbott. Any discussion? Any public comment? We'll vote. Trustee Jennings,
Aye.
trustee Chandra,
Aye.
trustee Abbott,
Aye.
trustee Linder,
Aye.
and trustee Faulkner,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. So the motion carries. And we are now on to 5J. Discussion action on board standing committee meetings. We're just proposing these for the next year. We're continuing to meet on the third
Correct,
Thursday
so
of
the
the month.
meeting,
There's no
these are
change.
just your regular board meetings, which are the third Thursday of every month, except for the month of July. And as of right now, obviously your meeting starts at 8:30. As you well know, Police and Fire in the last meeting changed their start time to 9 AM. Doesn't mean that you have to, but I'm just letting you know that. And it also includes committee meetings, correct? Yeah.
So I had a question about that. The committee meetings, we set them a year. in
We
advance?
try, they used to be, so we try to have quarterly staff meetings. I'm not sure about the IC. The IC is not here.
The IC is here.
It's here.
Yeah, the JPC is not
Yeah,
here.
but they're not quarterly. Can you take a look at the IC, Prabhu?
They are quarterly.
They are quarter.
But I mean, haven't we changed them to less often these days so that we still meet?
The quarterly is less often. Any less often than that, we wouldn't be doing our fiduciary.
All right,
duty.
all right. So,
It's on page 2.
Oh, it's on page 2. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
so,
It looks like it's monthly.
but it used to be monthly that we met the investment committee meeting, but they're not quite. Oh, the JPC.
JPC looks like it's monthly, looking at
Yeah.
page 2.
Well, they are working on the search and the
Yeah.
firm and everything else, so I think it's gonna be monthly for the next few
Yeah,
months.
I would say that's aspirational at this
Yes.
point. We haven't met monthly, but there was a period we were meeting monthly.
But to your
So-
point, I think most committee meetings tend to meet quarterly, and we scattered them, like some of them after the police and fire board meeting, some of them after the Fed meeting. But if we need to, what we work through, and we need to make any change, we can always do that.
Okay, that's what, yeah.
I also am wondering about the governance committee. It seems to me like with the things that are in front of it in terms of policies and procedures, that to have one in November and then not another one until March seems like it's not enough.
You can always call meetings.
That's right, so again, this is just, I would view this as at least on a
At
quarterly
least,
basis for the
okay.
year, so you have a meeting this month. And if for that, you determine that you have to meet monthly for the next few months, you certainly can do that. Approving this doesn't mean that you cannot meet more often.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say there's a pro forma schedule that
Thank you.
is easily amended. Yeah.
Except for the board
Except for the board meeting,
Yeah,
which is
correct.
why I asked why they all at the same time. But is knowing that we're committing, it can always change a board meeting, but we're really committing to the board meetings, but the pro forma for the committee meetings.
Okay.
Correct, thank you.
And is there a suggestion that we might also want to move it to 9 instead of 8:30? Is that what I heard?
If trustees want to discuss that, P and F took that decision. I don't know what the sentiment is here for such a move.
I will go with the majority, but the less of my day, my work day that I'm here, and I usually don't have things starting as early as 8 or 8:30. It's better if that half hour is helpful to me, but if people want to avoid traffic or be more in the heart of traffic, I don't know how that exactly
Yeah,
works.
I was gonna say traffic has been really terrible, except for the summer. Coming in for this 8:30, but I can't really complain because I don't drive that far. It's just I'm surprised.
I don't know that
Maybe
nine.
did at 8:30.
Nine would-
What?
I don't know that nine would be much better.
Maybe not.
Well, before you take a motion on this,
Yes.
I did want to make one clarification. So the proposed backup material does reference that the board meetings will be held by Zoom under AB 361. That's no longer the case, but there's no governor proclamation
Right.
available. So if you do approve the schedule,
We
you'll
need to
approve the
take
schedule
that
with
out.
that. Yeah. and take
Thank
that
you,
out.
council.
Thank you for that. Okay. All right, so, no, if anyone wants to make a motion to begin meetings at nine AM, now is the time to do so. And if not, is there someone who would like to make a motion to accept the proposed schedule with the caveat that Council Chin just advised? That will be the time to
I
do that.
motion.
Okay, so moved by trustee Abbott. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from trustee Linder. Any trustee discussion? Any public comment? We will vote. Vice Chair Jennings,
Aye.
trustee Chandra,
Aye.
trustee Abbott,
Aye.
trustee Linder,
Aye.
trustee Faulkner,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. The motion carries. Okay, we're on to committee reports. Investment Committee. It looks like we haven't met now for a couple of months. Chair Chandra.
Yeah, we'll be meeting, I think, before the next board meeting.
Right. Okay. Audit Committee. Trustee Avasti is not here. I don't know if trustee Jennings or Abbott would like to report any activity there.
Well, I guess I would report that we're still going over the various findings. We've spent time going over the various items. I don't think we have conclusions at this point, right? And we're looking at the auditor report that was finalized. And so that's later on to approve that. I know that the chair had some concerns on that. I'm not exactly sure where that stood.
Mr. Chair, if I can, so a couple of things. So, the committee did discuss responses by management on the findings of the audit for given and contract oversight. The committee also accepted and is recommending to the board the ACFR, which is the audit of financial statements for the both plans presented by CSGD at the last meeting. But in terms of that, I do want to kind of bring you up to date. The CSGD has completed and signed off on the financial statements. The financial audit is complete. It was a clean opinion. But as you are aware, there's an investment section on the ACFR. Benji, I know you listening, so if I misspeak, jump in and correct me, please. And that section from Nikita has been, so right now is not on the financial statement, pending Messias Genie further agreed upon procedures work on reviewing the returns over the last few years, the issue that was actually brought forward to you board by CIO Palani. Again, I want to emphasize, and if I misspeak, Prabhu, correct me. Our understanding based on the review that we have completed is that it's a minimal difference of about possibly up to 10 basis points, but nevertheless, the audit committee went ahead and agreed to hire Messias Genie, and you boards approved the work to do the work to confirm that is the case, or let us know if there's any difference, what the actual amount of difference is there. We're hoping that that work can be completed in the next month or so. So then we can actually add back in the investment function by investment section by Nikita with the correct numbers. So we will keep you posted on the work by Messias Genie. But the bottom line is that the financial audit was completed. It was a clean opinion, and the audit committee did accept the presentation by Messias Genie. At the meeting, there was also discussion of contracting with Cortex Consulting to do work that is also being done at the same time. I'm working with council on the policies and procedures and the gaps between our office and the city. So Cortex is also part of that work. And I don't know if that, did I leave anything else out from the audit, from the committee meeting?
Well, they're listed here on the agenda, so we can just go through them.
Okay, I mean, I kind of touched
Yeah.
in general the items, I didn't go into specific. Did I explain the effort correctly, Benji, please?
Yes, you did. You didn't, everything was correct. Thank you.
Okay. So then going through the agenda items, it looks like 6.2C and 6.2D are really discussions of the internal auditor report, but 6.2E, we require action.
That's correct. So 6.2C and D, there was the management provided their response, and then we received a comment from the public thereafter. And so we felt, the committee felt it's appropriate to bring this for discussion. There's no action that needs to be taken on that, but these two items were raised and discussed by Barbara. So if Barbara wants to weigh in on what she briefed the committee on those two items.
Yes, actually, I don't remember the specifics, but I am going to be adding in some more detail to the responses based on the feedback.
I see. So the work's ongoing.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Then now 6.2E is, I guess the action is to accept the independent auditor's report on our annual financial report.
Right.
And the letter is here in the attachments. Are there any questions about the MGO external auditor letter? Okay. Would anyone like to formulate a proposal to accept this letter?
I move that we accept the letter.
So we have a motion from trustee Abbott. Did I hear
second it.
trustee Jennings? Any trustee discussion, any public discussion? We will vote. Vice Chair Jennings,
Aye.
trustee Chandra,
Aye.
trustee Abbott,
Aye.
trustee Linder,
Aye.
trustee Faulkner.
Aye.
Okay, and I vote aye as well, so 6E is accepted. Now 6F is the ACFR. And based on what you just said, is this then not really a final version? We're waiting for the possibility
It is.
that we will. So I think we should defer action on this and not vote to accept it. I do note, at least on the version I'm looking at that I downloaded, the attachment from last week, the board chair letter has not been updated to my most recent version. So I'm sure you'll have that updated.
Benji, do you have any comments on the last two statements by the chair?
I have not received the latest board chair letter. I didn't receive it, so I don't, I updated it to the latest I had.
Okay, I will resend it. I think it's something I thought I had sent last week, but I can see looking at it, there's some modest changes.
And it's okay to delay deferring the act for the next meeting, right?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct. Hopefully the AUP is completed by then and we can finalize the act for, because we do need it to file our GFOA filings.
And the state report?
No, the state controller's report only needs the audited financial statement, so that's okay.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Okay, so that's 6.2F, 6.2G. We also require action on the Cortex work plan.
So the Joint Audit Committee had referred out the development of the policy for contracting and procurement to the Governance Committee with direction for Cortex to return with a proposed policy to the Joint Governance Committee by the end of November. And so discussion and action on this would just be to approve what the Joint Audit Committees have already directed Cortex to do.
Okay.
Do we have to approve a budget? No, it's not.
That was already covered in a previous motion that we've done when
Okay.
we renewed Cortex's agreement at the previous meeting.
Okay, and that encompasses this work too?
Yeah, so
Okay.
the work here is really just the direction to refer to the governance committee and to have them look at this by the end of November.
Okay. Any questions from trustees? Is there a motion then to agree with the recommendation?
Yeah.
I think I heard trustee Chandra first, and a second trustee Abbott. Any further
I got the Jeopardy buzzer.
You're getting just in time for final Jeopardy. Any trustee questions or discussion? Any public comment? Hearing none, we will vote. Vice Chair Jennings,
Aye.
trustee Chandra,
Aye.
trustee Abbott,
Aye.
trustee Linder,
Aye.
trustee Faulkner,
Aye.
and I vote aye as
Aye.
well. I'm sorry, was there something further, trustee Faulkner?
There must be a delay, sorry.
There's a little bit of delay. Okay. Probably the Wi-Fi down there at the beachfront is a little delayed, yeah. And I vote aye as well, so 6-2G carries. 6-3 is the governance committee.
Mr. Chair, did you receive and file the minutes? I apologize.
Sure.
Receive all the minutes up to
Yes,
this point.
yes, thank you. I agree. Governance committee hasn't met since February 16th, but it looks like you will begin meeting on a more regular basis since there's a lot more work to be done there.
It sounds like our new head attorney's got the workload for us.
Okay, well, you voted for her and
No,
hopefully
we're
you're full
excited to
knowledge of
work.
what's up.
That's great.
Okay, disability committee,
We will have some items. We
Okay.
had 3 cases that we heard at our November 7th meeting.
no, 3,
We made decisions on 2 we denied, 1 we approved. We will see what the denied people, what to do. The approval will be on your December board meeting, on consent.
okay, great, sounds like a very active
So we're
committee.
trying to see if we can do another 3. We got some that have to come back and so on, so in December.
Got it.
And the staff work has been excellent.
Oh,
So,
good.
As Russ's work, I see it.
So we accept the minutes on that. Joint personnel, I think Vice Chair Chandra, you want to comment here?
Yeah, so check this on. So the JPC has been the most active that it's ever been in my tenure. I think we covered some of the topics already, that we've been discussing, incentive compensation, also moving the CEO, CIO and investment staff up in their, regular compensation, to the, 75th percentile. And we have now begun to spend some time thinking about transition planning and planning for a CEO when Roberto departs at some point next year. And we want to get in front of that process because it could take some time. So to that end, there are a couple of items. There's 3 items here that require discussion and action. The first one is we'd like to issue an RFP for an executive search firm, and we have nominated an ad hoc committee within the JPC to help us expedite that process, and trustee Linder will be our representative from the JPC. There's no attachment, but if there's any discussion or any questions people have about that, please ask now.
So, just to piggyback on what trustee Chandra, said, the motion that the action that the JPC took was that to issue an RFP with an ad hoc to draft and issue in return with recommendation to the JPC on the executive search firm with an initial budget of up to $50,000.
Oh, sorry, yes, $50,000.
Right, and that would be split between
25,000 between us.
And that's an up to.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess there are 2 items here, 6.5B, which is our approval to issue the RFP for the executive search, and then 6.5C, which is the formation of the ad hoc committee. So we need to approve both items.
Why don't, so the first one, why don't we, if anyone is willing to entertain a motion on issuing an RFP with a budget of $50,000 split between police and fire and Federated.
I so move.
I second, if I can do that.
Yes.
And any further trustee discussion? Any public comments? Then we will vote. Vice Chair Jennings,
Aye.
Trustee Chandra,
Aye.
trustee Abbott,
Aye.
trustee Linder,
Aye.
trustee Faulkner,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So an RFP will be issued.
And then for the next item, I apologize, I'll have to ask council to help me out. I know one of our ad hoc committee members being nominated is trustee Linder, who from the police side.
Andrew Cardenas.
It is Andrew, that's what I got.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and then so.
Don't
the-
tell him I forgot his name.
You won't, it's just a public meeting.
He doesn't listen. I'm saying.
So for this item, the JPC had taken action to appoint create a two-person ad hoc committee to be designated as the chair of the JPC for the appointment of the members to that ad hoc committee for the purpose of conducting the RFP search and to continue in existence through the executive search. So that's the action that's being recommended to this board for approval.
So if there are no questions, do we have a motion to accept that action?
So moved.
Trustee Linder, second.
I'll second.
Trustee Abbott, second. Any further discussion? Any public comments? Vice Chair Jennings,
Aye.
trustee Chandra,
Aye.
trustee Abbott,
Aye.
trustee Linder,
Aye.
trustee Faulkner,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. So it carries. And now we come to 6.5D, which is quite a bit of red line on the JPC charter. And if Council Chen wants to address herself to this.
Sure. So as you know, Measure G added city charter provision 810.1, which provides the board's joint authorities with police and fire over the CEO and CIO position. The charter covers a number of areas relating to the hiring, compensation, performance evaluation, discipline, and termination of the CEO. But our board policy only addresses the compensation and performance evaluation aspects provided under the city charter. And so we thought to true up our JPC charter to address the omitted areas, which were specifically related to termination and discipline, as well as the hiring provisions. And so what I did here is you'll look at the red line changes. The introductory statements here was just to be more wholesome with the provided authority under the city charter. And so if you look at, subdivision 1, it refers back to the city charters that we have the sole authority and stating that in our charter here. We also specified that the CEO may appoint or prescribe the duties, suspension, discharge, demotion, or demotion or discipline of any of the ORS staff, making that clear that that's the function of the CEO. And then also stating that we have rulemaking authority. So those are the changes in the introduction that were approved. Also, as you look at page 3, I've included a new section here for the hiring of the CEO and CIO position. This was just taken from other areas of the policy and put into a new section that's clearly noted. So that's just reorganization. You'll note here, though, in subdivision 9D that in circumstances where the boards do not agree on the hiring and selection of the CEO, that we will need further discussion with the JPC on how to address that deadlock. So that's a placeholder for now, but provisions 9A through C have been approved and are being recommended to the board to adopt. Similarly, for performance evaluation, there's another tiebreaker provision in 10D that's for further discussion. But also for compensation here, we have come and the Trustee Chandra may come in and speak on this. We discussed at length on how to address situations where the two boards are in disagreement on compensation. And so they have come up with a mechanism to resolve that difference. And what it would be is that if, and they've taken action on this as well, and I've integrated it into this current version before you, is that if the performance evaluations between the two boards are within one ranking of each other, that the compensation numbers from the two would be averaged to be our joint recommendation to the council. So that should be reflected in the back materials that were provided to you. And then lastly, we have a provision on discipline and termination. There was conversation about that at the JPC, and so I've incorporated those edits from the JPC in the current version before you, which is for the JPC to recommend to the board for disciplinary or termination of the CEO, and for both items to be conducted in closed session.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. Thank you for that, Council Chin. I would just say that the committee felt it made sense to approve as much of these changes post haste, understanding that we still have to come up with some of the deadline procedures, but certainly on the compensation issue, that's quite complex. So that's why we're doing it in this manner.
Exactly. Any trustee questions about these changes to the JPC charter?
You know, these weren't in place when we hired the CIO, so I don't know if we went outside our authority.
No, they were just in the other section. So I created a new section for hiring, just moved it up.
I believe the JPC did approve recommending this to this board.
That is
Yes,
correct.
we did.
So our task here today is either to adopt the recommendations or to reject them. So to be clear, under 7I, it's either 7D, it's either 1 or 2. So if we adopt, then 7 on page 4, 7D1 is adopted and 7D2 is rejected.
Are you looking at what page are you on?
This is compensation,
Okay,
so it's kind of one or the other.
Section 11. Which
Section 11.
which
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it was at 7,
New
now it's
section.
11. 11D1, 11D2, they are mutually exclusive.
No, so if you look here, 71 is if this is what the JPC had recommended.
Or not
which is-
within, okay.
So when they are within, when the final performance evaluations from the two boards are within a rating level of one another, then the compensation recommendations from the two boards shall be combined and then averaged to become the final total compensation recommendations to provide to city council. If the final compensation evaluations are not within the rating of one another, that's still something that the JPC will
Yeah,
deal
so we
with.
still need that,
Right, so that's why it's highlighted in yellow.
All right, so I will entertain a motion to adopt all of the recommended changes as presented.
I so motion.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Jennings. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Trustee Linder. Is there any trustee discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, you vote. Vice Chair Jennings,
Aye.
Trustee Chandra,
Aye.
Trustee Abbott,
Aye.
Trustee Linder,
Aye.
Trustee Faulkner.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The changes are adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll work on that.
And still much work to go.
Yes.
Item 7, we all have the Cortex report, the Calipers program calendar.
Oh, I think you skipped over 6.5E.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
discussion on incentive compensation program for ORS staff. I guess at the JPC, we didn't really advance the discussion on that further, other than it's still a topic of discussion, and we haven't yet formulated a fully fed program to recommend.
That's correct. I mean, we got some feedback from the city.
Yes.
And specifically from the 2 liaisons to the 2 boards. And with the balance of things that are on our plate and also some of the issues we have to resolve with the city, we thought it made sense to move this to a Q1 item, Q1 2024.
Right, okay, so work ongoing, discussion ongoing. Education and training, obviously you can see the various educational opportunities before us. Any proposed agenda items for our next session? And hearing none, we are in adjournment.
Just one quick thing, if anybody wants to go to the luncheon that the Employees Association is having on the Three Flames, December 6th, 11 o'clock social, 12 o'clock lunch. And you would like me to pass on to people what you would like to have. It saves one step. I'm happy to do that for you. I understand you may not be there, but it is they're happening and, we won't.
Trustee Linder, I am putting together a list for Joan. So if anybody wants to attend, I can get your information.
Cynthia, can we send the email out that we send to staff to the trustees so they can? Thank you.
The letter invitation advised informing yet another person.
So she's gonna be informed.
Okay,
So Cynthia's.
Mark, I can just tell you at this point, I can't. I have a meeting, capital budget meeting at 2 with Council District 5.
So I can ask them to give me your lunch?
Yes, you can have my lunch.
You were gonna have to order the steak, right, Julie?
Yes, whatever
Okay.
you want, Roberto.
Did you?
Yeah. Otherwise,
Recording
I wouldn't.
stopped.
I've been hearing like